Hey, this is Megan in the restricted section, and this is my January wrap-up video. So, for the month of January, I read 7 books. The first one was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I gave that book 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it in this video because Sue and I actually posted a review video of it together, and I will post the link to that down below. So definitely check that out. That book was awesome, and I will probably read it again. The second book I read in January was actually a play, and I read it for the Book Riot Read Harder challenge, and I read Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which was very clever and funny, but that being said, I don't usually like to read plays. I just read it for the challenge. So I gave that one, I think I gave that 3 out of 5 stars just because of the fact that it's really hard for me to get engaged when I'm reading a play. The next book that I read in the month of January is called Alice by Christina Henry. I gave that book 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. I thought it was a very interesting take on the events of Alice in Wonderland. So basically what happens is that Alice wakes up in an asylum, and she is very confused. She knows that something bad has happened to her, and she has some flashes of memory, but she's not really sure what happened. She makes a male friend who is also in the asylum with her. They end up having to escape the asylum, and they find themselves on this quest to find and destroy the Jabberwocky. So it's chronicling their journey doing that, and it's a very interesting world. You see some of the characters that you're used to from Alice in Wonderland depicted as like crime bosses, kind of. Well, not kind of. They definitely are crime bosses. So it's super interesting to see them in that way. And it's really, what I liked best about this book is that in the very beginning, Alice is very unsure of who she is. She seems very uncomfortable in her own skin and very much like a scared little girl. And throughout the course of the book, she really develops into a strong woman and a very strong character. So that was really fun to see her develop that way. The next book I read is called The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This book is crazy, and I say that in a very good way. I loved this book. I wanted to keep reading this book. It was a page turner. It constantly surprised me, and I constantly kind of had to put it down and go, what the fuck is happening in this book? It is absurd. Basically, there are these 12 orphans who are taken in by the man that they call father, and they live in a place called the library. So he raises them and trains them up in various different disciplines. And father has the power of life and death and of creation, and so you kind of get the implication that father is God or a god of some sort. Well, then he goes missing. And so kind of the battle is on for control of the library, and it's super fascinating, super weird. 4 out of 5 stars is what I gave it, and I highly recommend it. It was super good, and it's really hard to discuss this book with people who haven't read it. The 5th book that I read in January is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is kind of, I would consider it a modern classic. It was written in the mid-80s, and it's about a dystopian society that happened when I guess during the mid-80s they kind of saw a rash of violence against women and kind of wanted to return to puritanical values, forgive the air quotes, and so they took away the rights of women and kind of subjugated them into just a couple different roles. So the handmaids were brought in because the birth rate was also shockingly low, and they were having problems with population because people couldn't have children. And so the handmaids were brought in, to these married couples and expected to sleep with the husband once a month to try to have a baby, and that was their sole purpose. So I loved this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This book really got to me in a way that not a whole lot of books do. It just really struck me, and I really liked what they did with the last chapter of the book, which I won't go into in case you haven't read it. But definitely check that out, especially if you are female, because I think it's an important piece of history, that book is. The 6th book I read in January was The Road by Cormac McCarthy. That is a post-apocalyptic novel about a man and his son who are traveling along a road in kind of the ruined country that is the United States. This book is pretty much exactly what you would expect from a post-apocalyptic novel. It's very dark, very depressing, and Cormac McCarthy does a really good job of capturing this kind of hopelessness. We really kind of want to die because everything sucks so bad, but for some reason we go on surviving. I really got that feeling throughout the course of the book. The imagery he used was very bleak, so I liked it. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars as well. So definitely check that out. It was not as depressing as everyone told me it would be. Everyone said, don't read that book because it's a downer. It's not that bad. It's just pretty much exactly what you would expect from a post-apocalyptic novel. So, the last book I read in January is called Blackout, Remembering the Things I Drank to Forget by Sarah Hepola. It is a memoir about Sarah Hepola's experience with alcoholism and recovery. I thought it was a very good memoir. It was very witty and it was clever and it made me laugh, but that didn't cause it to lose any of the authenticity or vulnerability of her experience. And so I felt like it was a very honest, real account of her experiences. So I thought that was pretty awesome. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And that is actually, in the book club that I'm in, that's our book for the month of February. That's the book we're going to meet and discuss in February. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion with those ladies. So those are the books I completed in January. There were a couple of books that I started, but I'm not going to go into those yet. I'm sure there will be a video about those later. So that's my January wrap-up video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and please check out Sue's January wrap-up video, which she posted, I think, earlier today. Thanks.